Niger is one of the poorest and most degraded countries in sub-Saharan Africa. Despite the severe constraints, farmer-managed natural regeneration has spread exponentially across the country. In the 1980s, Tony Rinaudo worked with communities to help restore even the most barren of landscapes.
This site that you see here, 4 years ago there was only one tree on the whole site.
Niger Republic is a borderland of the Sahara Desert. In my lifetime, it had been a biodiverse dryland forest, but by the time we arrived, most of the forest had been cleared. Extremely infertile soils, so average crop yields were in the order of just 200 kilos per hectare, when the average family would need about a tonne of grain per year to survive. With the loss of that vegetation, it was barely providing for the needs of the people. In the past, a big famine might occur every 30 to 50 years. By the time we arrived in 1980, famines were occurring every 5 to 10 years. And the people that were there were stressed. Their focus was on survival.
Deforestation and desertification is happening in many parts of the world. With no trees to protect the soil, windstorms sweep the land, destroying crops. Drought is a frequent occurrence, livestock suffers, and people can often go hungry.
Effectively, the men were away for large parts of the year, children weren't in school, and the women really suffered. People were having to go further and further for harvesting resources or for getting work. People were not growing enough food to last them through until the next harvest. It's estimated that in Niger, 60 million trees were planted from nurseries over a 20-year period with less than 20% survival rate. And one day, as I was driving a load of trees out to the villages, and I thought, using this nursery and tree planting technique, it was impossible to revegetate the land on a large enough scale to make an impact. The people's will wasn't in planting trees. The impact of FMNR is actually very rapid, and so even within the first year, farmers are experiencing a reduction in wind speeds, a slight increase in soil fertility. By year 2 to 3, they're harvesting poles so they can use that in their homes or sell them as extra income. Firewood, edible leaves, wild fruits. Once you have a tree, you can hang a beehive. At ground level, we had no perception of the scale of the impact. It wasn't until we saw satellite images that we realised this is enormous. Here you have a success in an extremely harsh climate on the edge of the Sahara Desert. So it's a beacon of light. It shines the way for many other countries. FMNR gives farmers the courage to try new things. It all starts with just simply pruning these apparent bushes that have been there all along. So that over the space of 20 years, this thing that was so difficult to convince even 10 initial farmers with, over 20 years it spread to 5 million hectares, 50% of the farmland of Niger Republic, largely by word of mouth.
FMNR has regenerated over 200 million new trees, produced an additional 500,000 tonnes of cereals a year, increased soil quality and availability of firewood and animal fodder, thereby increasing income and meeting the needs of 2.5 million people.
You can't underestimate the significance of hope, restoring hope. And for any person struggling to survive, to provide for their children, you imagine this simple tool comes in and shows them that you can have more control than what you ever thought possible. What that does to people's sense of self-worth and dignity is extremely powerful.